This presentation is for educational purposes and is based on personal experiences. Please do your own research and seek advice from trusted sources before making financial decisions. This is part of a broader conversation on building financial confidence. To personalize your journey, consider purchasing the workbook 8 Steps to Financial Empowerment by me, Dawn Johnson, available on Amazon. If you had $10,000 of disposable cash, what would you do with it right now? Would you invest in the stock market, real estate, a trusted entrepreneur with a strong idea? I suggest you base your answer on what you're willing to invest your time learning about. I'm Dawn Johnson, entrepreneur, author, empowerment advocate, and financial empowerment workshop facilitator. In this session, we'll emphasize the importance of personal and continued investment research, give reasons why you should bet on yourself, and review the foundational steps to financial empowerment. We will discuss what you should take into consideration with starting or joining an investment club. We were all so appreciative to hear uplifting words encouraging us to leverage our natural talents along with education to build the life you want to live. From Pastor Jay, Senior Pastor and founder of A Greater Work Center. If you're ready to take control and build your legacy, then let's get started.
If you had $10,000 in just disposable cash, what would you do with it right now, other than stocks? It's just when you talk about passive income, what would you do with it?
So me personally? Okay, personally, I've just entered into a phase of life, so my answer would have been different 10 years ago, so it just depends on where you are. But I just met a gentleman who actually scopes out land. He has a construction company that builds houses, and he can do that at a faster pace, and he gets influx of money. So if I had $10,000, I would give it to him. And he actually already has a contract drawn up where in 8 months I get a 10% return. That's better to me. Like, I don't mind investing in the stock market, but it is a slower process.
Correct.
So to be able to get, like, there's nowhere you can get 8 months, 10% return. So right now, because of the real estate market, I will ride that wave right now, but you have to also continue to educate yourselves. So things that you are hearing today are true today. They can change tomorrow, they can change next month. It all depends on what the Fed is going to do to manipulate our buying habits, raising interest rates, lower interest rates. That's what economics is about.
So you would take that $10,000, give it to him to
invest in him doing what he does, because it involved me. This passive for me. I don't have to do the work. I don't even have to have the knowledge. I just developed a relationship and the trust to know that he's going to do what he says in a contract.
So it's not a house for you.
It's not a house for me. I don't touch the house. I don't even have to look at it.
The only thing is that he's giving you back.
He's giving me back.
Investing in him. So basically you're like a silent partner or a silent investor. He's going to build somebody else's home.
Right.
But with the $10,000, he's going to invest. You're investing in him, and he's going to return back to you. You said what?
10% on my investment. So if I gave him the $10,000, then in 8 months I'll have 1,000. Yep. So I'll do that over and over and over again as long as the market will support it. And
I need that man's information.
so here's the deal, y'all. Again, this is why I talk about community and collective conversation. Because we have a contractor, someone who builds houses, and you have a real estate person who's scoping out land and property, and you have an attorney that can draw up a contract. Like, that's a recipe for several people together who all have $10,000, $20,000, whatever you have, pull it together, give those people your money, and you get it back. Like, these pockets, because at some point they're making enough money now where they don't really have to do that. Like, he has a group of people that's what they do. So because he believes in community, he's going to continue to do that because he wants to help people build wealth. But at some point, if it becomes too cumbersome, it's not like what they need to do. So we need to learn, like, being involved in that situation learn the tactics, learn who we need to connect with, and we can create small groups of people who do the same things. They're just investment groups. That's how investment groups get started in all kinds of things. People do that same thing with businesses. So if you have businesses that you feel very confident, if they just have the seed money, they have the knowledge, they have the expertise, they have the tenacity, you trust them that their business is going to grow, you give them to give you their performance and their growth projections. I'll invest money and know that you're going to give me a certain return. And I'm always going to look at, okay, if I was to invest in the stock market is always my frame of reference. If I was to put that money in the stock market, how long would it take me to make that return? If you put money, the most you're going to make in a very, very safe investment, which is like a CD, at this point, is going to be 5%, 6% maybe. So if I can get above that, now understand that after the market changes again, so you ride this wave where you can get 6% on CDs, once that changes and it goes back to you only getting 0.001 on CDs, then you have to find a different strategy. So you can't just ride one horse really until it dies. You have to pay attention to the market and decide, okay, these are my multiple strategies that I'm comfortable with, and I'm going to invest in this particular thing. So I always use stock market as my reference. What am I willing to invest in? What can my return, my average return be over a certain period of time? And then compare every other opportunity to that return. So if it's better for me to do the stock market, I'm going to do that. If I can do these real estate investments, I'm going to do that while it lasts. If I can do some business investments, I'm going to do that. So, but today, if I had $10,000, I would do real estate investing.
But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dawn, I think that's an important part. Please hear when she says today, right? So if I had $10,000 and I was 21 and I played the instrument, I'm going to start a band and I'm going to advertise for doing weddings, right? And because I'm going to bet on myself at that age and wherever I am in my life. Now that's going to depend on some other financial factors, but it depends on where you are. So that's why I started out today talking about your purpose and what God has anointed you to do, if I can be a little bit spiritual. Because at some point you have to bet on yourself. And so I think that's kind of the thing here. Now, Dawn is fully in her purpose. I mean, she's killing this thing. She's doing what God has called her to do. So she could take 10 and go say, okay, go do something else that's going to continue to feed into me being able to live out my purpose. So again, you really have to know yourself. And that's why this whole financial thing is about, there's some soul searching going on here. Because just me as a pastor, I just know God is looking at you going, what'd you do with the talents that I gave you? Mm-hmm. Did you bury them in the ground for trying to be like somebody else and have what somebody else has, when what I had planned for you was you to believe in you, have faith in you, and the prosperity I have from that was going to be so much greater than the market or what your friends were doing. So there is some real soul searching going on here. But again, to what Dawn has been teaching us the last several weeks, make sure you have a strong foundation. You got a budget, you're paying your bills on time, your credit is good, and the Holy Spirit works on top of that. Like I tell ministers all the time, the Holy Spirit works on you being prepared. You ain't gonna just get up here and say, oh, Holy Spirit, lead me. That's not how it works. The same way you're not gonna do it with your finances. You're not gonna come up here and pray and go, oh Lord, give me a financial blessing. What kind of God would he be? What kind of good parent would he be if he gave you a bunch of money and you don't know how to use it? That's like giving your 7-year-old the keys to your car. God is not a dumb God. And so understand, build that foundation and then bet on you at least once in your life. Bet on you. Okay, so it just depends on where you're at. Am I okay with that?
Absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. And
right.
Keeping in mind that too, investing, maybe education.
Absolutely.
It may be, taking a course in something. So that investment in yourself. So the key to all of this, it's like whether you're building a house on sinking sand or not, right? Because if you don't have a budget, you don't know your numbers, and you don't have any emergency, all of this is for naught. Like this whole conversation is deaf to you if you don't have an emergency fund.
let me go back, because you're dropping jewels, and I don't know if they're catching it. Because you said maybe take a course, right? And so in our budget in our house, we take a percentage and invest in each other. Now, a lot of times people look at me and go, okay, he's a pastor, he know the Bible. But I'm certified in artificial intelligence this year. And so I'm constantly investing in myself because I don't know how it will help the kingdom. I have a lot of certifications. I know I get up here, I play dumb. But we stay invested in us because, to Don's point, you never know how the market and the world's gonna change. And so, look, I love it. My whole vision and my dreams are subject to the people that come in this church. And I don't know if y'all understand how vulnerable that is, right? Like, most of y'all can start a business, and if you say go left, you get to go left. I gotta go before a board and a committee and whatever. So, just let me be honest with you. This thing might not always work out. So that's why I am certified in so many things, because wherever God may take me, I need to be prepared and ready. So if you're not investing in you, you're telling God, I don't believe in what you created. I don't believe enough in it to make it better. I don't believe enough in myself to strengthen myself where I am weak. So please make sure that you're putting into yourself, because I can't tell you how many people I meet in church who can cook good. But you don't know how to use a paring knife versus this knife versus that knife. Go to school. Go to school so you can take that natural talent and put it on top of the basic skills. And you're never too old to go back to school. You're never too old to invest in yourself. So for a lot of us, that might be the best use of $10,000. Again, to invest in yourself, get some more education.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that discretionary income is huge because it can be divided into a lot of different ways. So knowing your numbers, what that discretionary income is, building up an emergency fund so that when you do, so giving money to someone, number one, for a period of time, I also got to know that plans may not work out. We're about to have 6 days worth of rain here. That can set somebody back quite a bit, in development. So you also got to be mindful of, it's not a bank account. I can't go and say, oh, my furnace just broken down, my money back. No. So you have to have an emergency fund, so when those emergencies happen, and they will, like that's just life, that you can dip into when your money is working for you. So those are all like steps 1, 2, 3, like you cannot get past 4. You cannot really delve into 4 until you do steps 1, 2, 3. That's why I call it 8 steps to financial empowerment, because so many people want to jump to step 4 and step 7 and step 8. People come and they're like, oh, what do you think about, what's the latest thing now, Bitcoin and all that. I'm like, basics first. Do you have an emergency fund? Do you have a budget? Like, I can't even have a conversation with you about all these exploratory things until you have a solid foundation. I don't feel responsible or comfortable having that conversation unless steps 1 through 3 are done. So this is like halfway point for us. We have another 4 steps to go, but I can't implore you enough to do 1 through 3. If we need to, talk, you all have my contact information. If we need to do one-on-ones, we can do small groups. We can meet at somebody's houses. But I can't implore enough like how important those steps are before you can realize your dreams. So this homework for the
One
next...
more thing,
yes,
say
please.
again, because I know some of these things. You talked about having an investment club, and I don't know if you could give some of your insight on it, because I know a lot of people hear that and they get skeptical, because there's so many scams out here. There's so many things where you got to go get 5 friends and do this and do that, and then there's the issue of trust.
Right.
And you said some things, and you said them real quickly, but I just want to revisit. If somebody were to come to you and say, hey, I want to get in this investment club, give me 2 or 3 things you would do before you hand over your money to anybody, because there is a due diligence before doing that, but there's a lot of good legitimate clubs out here.
Absolutely. So for me, I've now been in Rock Hill for 18 years. I've lived multiple places. I am really, really big on relationship. Like, I do all these events and pull people together because I want us to get to know each other. So when we're communing together, I mean, in church is also a great place to get to know people, but sometimes we in and out, we're not talking. So relationship. Like, I get to know people. We're in multiple types of conversations, so I'm getting to know what your philosophy is, or we're in the same page. Because you may be doing things, but you do it in a way that makes me uncomfortable. It doesn't mean that you're wrong, it doesn't mean you're bad, it just means that I'm going to be very nervous and I'm going to be very paranoid because we're not on the same page. So, getting into business or investments with anyone is like a marriage. So you need to practice due diligence and getting to know that person, how they think, how they handle money. I don't know if y'all ever watched Raising in the Sun, where, the big brother had, these guys gonna get into this investment thing, and he gave them his money, and they hightailed it out of town, and he had to go face his family because he spent the money they were gonna use to buy a house. So these were his buddies. So it's not even about friendship. It's about understanding who people are and how they handle money and how they think about life. So I spend lots of time with people. I spend lots of time networking with them. I get to know them. I get to know their families and their friends. I want to hear what they have to say about you. Because I can love someone to death. I have people in my family, I absolutely love them to death. But someone will say, can I get into this investment club with them? I'm like, just gonna give you silent notice. Yeah. So it's not about love and it's not about friendship. So the due diligence is getting to know people and know that you can trust them, and I spend a lot of time doing that.
You also mentioned a lawyer and the contract. So
Yes.
Y'all know, and I used to not think it was legit, like prepaid legal, right? And my wife has, on her job, it's like $8 a month for one of those legal things. And the reason why I didn't trust prepaid legal is the way it's marketed. You got to get 5 people, whatever. But let me tell you, and this wasn't prepaid legal, but it was a similar type service. My wife, for some reason, her name was inverted on her passport, and so we had to get it changed. And so we said, well, let's see if that legal service that you pay $8 a month for works. We sent it to them. They filed everything for us, and the lawyer showed up to court twice to make sure that everything got through for her for $8 a month, right? So what I'm telling you is, if somebody's trying to maybe shiesty you or whatever, because now I send every contract to them. I'm getting all of my $8. And so I send everything. I don't care if it's my cell phone contract. Look this over, tell me what are the pitfalls of this. And that's something that you could easily do. Now, if the case is something bigger, they may ask you to pay more. But I go visit every once in a while this young man who is in jail for manslaughter by vehicle or whatever, and he has no representation. And so he's having to accept whatever his public defender does. And when I checked with the prepaid legal, like, yeah, we would have covered something like that. You would have had to pay over on top of it, but we would at least got in the door for the bond hearing and stuff like that. So for all of you with families, who, all of us, all our families ain't saints, make sure you have some type of legal representation, even if it's just that $8 kind of prepaid legal thing. But in this case, we're investing your money. Make sure, because even when my financial advisor sends me his contract, I send it over to them and say, legit, how much is he getting? What is this going to look like? Because I didn't realize it was 1% for life your financial advisor gets. And as your portfolio gets bigger, that 1%, which was $100 when you started, is now $10,000 later. Oh, wow. So understanding the law and having legal representation is very important. For something like $8 to $16 a month, it may be something you want to do.
Absolutely. And contracts are enforceable. So getting something legally written and binding, friends aside, family aside, get a contract. If they believe in it enough, then they'll be willing to go to an attorney with you and sit down and draw up a contract that you both are comfortable with. So, I would do lawyers all day long, contracts all day long. But nothing beats intuition, prayer, So those are the first steps. You know, God will let you know right away.
Amen. God's spirit back.
Right. He'll move them people right out your way. You don't need to be like, Lord. And some will come up. So practice, you know, due diligence. And again, all the things that I even said that I would do, I'm relatively conservative. So I'm not talking about things that have not been proven over time. I like tangible. I like knowing people. I vet people. I look at their resumes. I look at their Facebook pages. I look at comments. Look at everything. I will read some. If I'm spending more than $100, I'm doing research. So most people like, really? Do we gotta? Yep. I never heard of. So do your research, and even to Pastor's point, like there's a lot. Like even going to an attorney or going even to a financial advisor, if you choose to do that and give them a percentage of your return, there's so much you can learn on your own before, so that you can minimize the amount of time that they have to spend and the amount of money, so that you kind of do all the due diligence work first and say, I just want you to give this a once over. Like, so even if you can't afford sometimes paying into those services, just do as much as you can do yourself first and pull it all together and make it easy for them, so then they can just walk through it, and then you have an hour of their time versus 5, 10, 12 hours for them to do all the research when information is free and available to you. Like, we're at such a great time, but it's a lot of nonsense out there too. So you have to read a lot and look for the common thread of things that make sense. So I'm not the person that talks about the Robin Hood and the Bitcoin and all the things. I'm not saying they're good or bad. I just start with the basics first, do my knowledge, do my research, get confident, make sure I can have an intelligent conversation, make sure I know what questions to ask. I don't do anything without asking questions. Like, if you don't have questions, that's a sign that maybe you didn't do enough research. You should always have questions. So, again, collective knowledge, like even an investment club, it doesn't mean that you have to even pull your money together and invest together. It just means you can do the research together and decide, okay, if you can invest the fund manager and the president of the company, and so that you can kind of reduce the amount of time that it takes to do those types of things, just the collective knowledge and network is enough, and then you go off and invest on your own. Like some of these companies that you can invest online, it's zero cost to trade if you're willing to do the research yourself and read and follow instructions. So
one last thing, I gotta brag on Dawn. I gotta brag on Dawn right quick to show y'all she means what she's talking about. The other day I went to visit somebody in the hospital, and I walked through the lobby, and I see this face on and I'm like, wait a minute. So she's on the hospital board of directors. Yep. And so let me tell you, you don't get there without knowing some people, being trusted, and being able to network with folks. And I just say that to say, where 2 or 3 are gathered together is what the Bible says. Yeah. And so let the she's probably too modest to say this. She's saying to y'all, connect with me, reach out to me, and she's bigwig. And I'm just saying, now don't take advantage of her, don't try to use her. But she has contacts, she knows people, and you'll be surprised who in this room knows people as well. And so, but that requires you being vulnerable. This power and vulnerability, that requires you saying, I don't have it all. I don't know everything. We got to stop preening and walking around here like we know everybody and know everything. But God brings us together for a reason. There's somebody on the other side of this room that has something that is key to your purpose and your destiny. Just like when Joseph was thrown in the pit, there was a baker and there was other people in the prison who were key to him getting out. So understand, network. When people avail themselves to you, be vulnerable enough to say, I don't know, please help me. Amen? Preach about that tomorrow, y'all, to me.
All right.
Okay, and just to that point, y'all, I have a PhD in community service. There's no certificate for it, but that's how I learn. I'm a very hands-on person, so when I want to know and understand something, I'm like, what organization is doing that type of work? And that's how, and I engage, and I listen, and I learn. And that's how I figure stuff out. That was like, if anybody asked me the best piece of advice that my mama ever gave me, it was, you see people doing stuff that you want to do, hang out with them and figure it out. Very simple. And that's what I've done my whole entire life. My resume, yes, it has, I don't know how many boards and commissions I've served on, but it wasn't because I knew everything. It was because I was willing to do the work. I showed up consistently. People knew that I would do what I said I would do. And they invite you to things. Just from being consistent, doing research, showing up, doing your part, and they know that they can depend on you. And then you sit in this room with people who probably know way more than you, but by the time you have served for a couple of years, you have gained all that knowledge that they went to school for, that you didn't have to necessarily. Or you find a shortcut or a way, a path forward that you can kind of skip some hurdles, avoid some mistakes, and learn from other people. So I appreciate that you sharing that, but that's just been my process and my journey for learning. And I'm an open book and willing and ready to share with you. You want to buy me lunch? No, but really, just I am an open book. You always, every email, you have a link to my calendar, so you can schedule time with me, and I'm happy and willing and able to share everything that I know.